Good evening and welcome to round 3 of the Phoenix Sim Racing F4 World Series here at Red Bull Ring. My name's Joel Laskin. I'm here today with Thomas Merritt as part of your commentary team for this evening. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to those in the YouTube chat, and what a nice racing we have lined up for you. Let's have a look at last week's top 3. So Kyle Felvers took a dominating run with an exceptional performance out in first place there and leading the championship. Thomas Potter, a very mature drive from him, and led the way for a fair while with a little bit of collision in the second to last race of last week, and then Nicky Taylor in third place. So that was our last week's top 3. Welcome, Thomas. How are you doing? Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Not too bad. Tell me, what have you been up to this week? Very nice. Cracking stuff. And I know we were just talking before this that you were doing an endurance race in the coming weeks as well, right? Fab. That sounds absolutely awesome, and good luck, and I hope you do incredibly well. We did run a endurance event at Sebring last weekend, and I would love to say that we won it, but we didn't. There was quite a bit of carnage in the race for Phoenix, and yeah, we got incredibly unlucky with a couple of GTPs because it was a multi-class event, so it didn't quite end the way that we wanted it to compared to last year when we ran it, but yeah, plenty more events coming up, so yeah, it should be an interesting one for Phoenix as well. Okay, let's have a look at last week's results of the top 10, and let's have a look to see where the drivers now stand after round 2. So Kyle Felvers is leading the way with 62 points for HFT Racing after an incredibly dominant performance on rounds 1 and also 2. Let's not forget he does have 30 kilos of ballast again this week. Thomas Potter pushed himself up into second place after again a very mature drive from him after last week. And I'm sure he'll be looking to recreate that too. Alexander Link in third place with 51 points, so very close behind. And Alessandro Cierti, your 50 points in fourth place. So the top 4 all separated by just a handful of points. Andrea Rugi in fifth place with 46. Cristiano Bettini for HGE Racing eSports of 42. He's tied for 7th place with Josh Martin for the Mean Green Racing team, and unfortunately no Eric Axelson to support Josh this time round, but maybe next time, again on 42. And then Nicky Taylor, after his impressive performance last week, is also on 42 points, so the points are very level between all of them. Lorenzo Centra with 38 points for the World Racers team, and then Giuliano Giaco rounds out the top 10 with 37 points as well. So I must say, I did do a little bit of testing around Red Bull Ring, and we discussed this just off stream as well. Been watching some of the drivers in the practice session, and there is a fair amount of drivers that seems to have done quite a bit of testing, which is pretty interesting compared to the weeks. Oh, sorry, almost as if some of them are racing to get these prizes.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, there's big prizes up for grab with a Camus wheelbase if you secure the championship. and the gaps are so tight in practice here. It's going to be super interesting to see, especially with the ballast coming in as well. Obviously, we've got Lorenzo in P1 in practice so far, followed by Nicky Taylor, only 3/10 separating them. So I think for qualifying, it's going to be really crucial to try and get your laps in to secure those good results, as you said.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm just seeing in the YouTube chat here, people are saying that they can't hear you. Well, I can hear you. Let's have a look and just see if potentially maybe now that's fixed. Might be a slight technical bug. I'm hoping that's sorted. So if anyone in the YouTube chat can let us know if you can hear him now, that will be absolutely fantastic. If not, we'll work to resolve on that one. Yeah, so just looking at the timing sheets, I think just the official practice, the runs before the stream, I think the top 10 drivers were separated by no more than a second, with the top 4 separated by just a couple of tenths as well. So, oh, there you go. Look, it's working. Happy days. Thank you, Catherine. Much appreciated. We are working. Yeah. So, like I was saying, top 4 drivers separated by just a couple of tenths. And I think it's definitely some drivers here that are really trying to stick their nose out and get as much practice in as they can around this track. It is incredibly difficult. To be honest, I think it's going to be the last of the late breakers into some of these corners here, just to see, what they can do, and hopefully we'll have a great night's racing like we did last week.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, last week's round was mega at Interlagos. The racing that was produced was absolutely fantastic. And yeah, I think we're in for a good one at the Red Bull Ring this evening. Obviously, there's some tight corners where the field could bunch up and, just fit in, and it could really bunch up and cause some potential carnage. But you've also got those long straights, so slipstream's going to play a big part. And I wonder in qualifying here if people are actually going to be trying to look for that toe, or if they're just going to be flat out trying to bang the laps in. It'll be really interesting to see people's tactics.
Yeah, I must admit, right, I think obviously the setup's going to play a big part of how drivers go in qualifying. Even just messing around with setups myself when I was doing a few laps, I think I pumped 20 laps in, nowhere near as fast as any of the top lot, but it's nice to get an insight as to what the driver's feeling, how things are going for them out there, and potentially some of the issues they might face out on that track. And interestingly, watching just some of the official practice session before this, a lot of drivers just struggling with the rear end of the car, especially through the last 2 corners. So that might be an interesting one too. Also, one thing to look at as well is that with all the laps that have been done in the official practice and throughout the week, there's only a handful of laps for a lot of these drivers that have actually counted. Track limits are going to play a big part of these drivers' qualifying sessions, so that's going to be a tough one as well, as qualifying now goes underway, and we're going to go on board with our first place guy, Fabio Tabaroni, who's coming out the pits now. But like I was saying before, yeah, only a handful of drivers, a handful of laps that have actually been valid in the practice service. So I have a funny feeling that this qualifying session might be a little bit topsy-turvy, and we might not see some of the expectant drivers that we would normally see up the front actually dominating the top of qualifying.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, like I said, mentioned before, the ballast comes into play as well, and you see everyone dashing out now and trying to get those tyres up to temperature as quickly as possible. I have to say, Fabio going out early, that might have played into his favour, because there's going to be a lot of traffic behind him, but it's whether or not the people behind him can judge that toe to perfection.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this now is going to be tyre prep, tyre warm-up. I must admit, I don't think we're going to see the amount of tyre deg that we saw at Interlagos here at Red Bull Ring. However, the understeer definitely becomes very apparent maybe after 3 or 4 laps. So, it could be another one of tyre management towards the back end of the race as opposed to the start. So it's down to these drivers to figure out what they need to do in order to get these cars round to the finish and be as consistent as possible. But yeah, let's hope that each of these drivers can get a banker lap in first, because remember, there's only 10 minutes of the qualifying. As already, Fabio Tabaroni getting it very wide on the exit and getting it sideways. This is where I think a lot of the drivers are going to come a cropper, especially on the end of their qualifying laps, and now he's having to back out of it as Ethan Hill now goes ahead of him to take his quali lap. So that's already one down for him. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I'm intrigued to see who's going to end up putting it on pole, because I don't think it's going to be as simple as what some of these drivers expect.
No, I think it might be a driver that's potentially someone that we haven't seen, or has been sort of running in the midfield or the upper midfield, potentially like 8th or 7th in previous races. I think you could find that they could take the pole position and potentially the race win in race one. Because obviously, as we see here, you know, you've got Alexander Link with 24 kg of ballast, you've got Cristiano Bettini with 15 kg, Alessandro Scuti with 21 kg, Josh with 12 kg. So there's a lot of ballast here, and the long straights, it's going to play really crucial. And I think the other thing to mention as well is I've always found it 10 minutes is such a short space of time, and especially when you're talking sort of 1 minute 30 lap times, that's only sort of 5-6 laps. You're not going to get the amount of time that the drivers would want to you know, make that perfect lap, especially with traffic and tyre playing a big factor.
Yeah, I think. Well, I think it's almost expectant that potentially these guys are going to do one sort of warm up lap, one quali lap, then come back in. Potentially might go for a second if they feel like their tyres are still good for it. But again, especially with the understeer and like you say with the ballast for some of these drivers. I mean, I was talking to Carl Belvis in the chat just before this as Ethan Hill puts in a 1:30.14 and automatically gets demoted down to second place by Cierti with a 1:30.16. Carl Belvis with a 1:30.11. He must have heard us talking about him. His ears must be burning. But he was saying with this 30 kilograms of ballast that he's got on his car, he's really struggling to get it hooked up, especially with a lot of understeer into a lot of the long sweeping corners. And I think we're going to find a lot of this. But what will be really interesting, and something that I was thinking about before, is, you know, if you look back to F1 and predominantly any time that they've gone round at Red Bull Ring, it's not always the best of things to qualify first on the grid, because you've got a big straight after T1 where you can get towed quite easily, and all of a sudden could find yourself potentially 3 or 4 places back if the pack's close.
Yeah, certainly. I'm not sure if you picked up on it there, but at turn one there was a lot of carnage. Thomas Potter spun, sorry, and then people went off in avoidance. So, and this is what the issue is with the 10-minute qualifying around here, with getting tyres up to temperature. That's one lap, and they've already missed their second opportunity with only 5 minutes to go because other people's mistakes. There's been a few around the circuit as well. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting. So I'm just watching Lorenzo Sentra here just go deep and go off into the gravel. So again, that's another lap lost for him. So the drivers are really struggling out here, just making a few crucial errors in only a 10-minute qualifying could prove to be a fatal flaw.
Yeah, and just looking here, Nicky Taylor not setting a lap yet as he comes down here. So this is going to be another warm up for him as he just lets it looks like Catherine Potter potentially go through there. As she gets a little squirrely, that might just she's moved out the way. It's absolutely fine. I was going to say that might have ruined his run down into T1, but she thought better of it, and hopefully this will be a clean lap that he needs. But again, just looking at it here, top 4 separated by only 2.5 tenths, 3 tenths, should I say, of a second. So, you know, it is all to play for. And again, like you said, it's one of these ones you've got to be able to find the space. And with such a short track and the amount of drivers that we've got here, it's very difficult to not suddenly find yourself on the back of people that are potentially on a cool-down lap, coming back into the pits, or even just on a warm-up, as we see there. Nicky Taylor just getting a little sideways into the right-hander there at the top of their hill, and I think we're going to see lots more of that too.
Yeah, certainly. There's a lot of people going sideways, and like mentioned earlier in the stream, you doing that little bit of testing as well as myself, the car is really handles rather randomly, because you go in and you sort of get that front end loss of grip with a bit of understeer, and it suddenly snaps to oversteer, and you really have to be, you know, on your A game to be able to maximise what the car's limits are and to be able to extract all the time out of the lap. Lorenzo on another lap here, looking nice and tidy. The sector times are looking pretty decent as well, so we'll see what sort of lap time he can do as well.
Yeah, I'm just keeping an eye here on Nicky. That's why I'm sticking with him. I want to see what he can pump in. He did do some quick times in the practice server and was still dialing in his setup. So were a fair few other drivers, to be fair. Only minutes before qualifying, so trying all different things. He goes very wide there. I wonder if that one's going to count, or that's going to be track limits or not. We're about to find out as he goes to cross the line, and no. Oh, he does. He does. Okay, with a 31.2, but that's still, you know, 7 tenths off the top, so he's not going to be happy with that. He's still got 3 minutes 15 left to go. If he's got enough fuel left in the tank, he might be able to do a cool down lap here. Just bring the car back round, get it back into its operating window, and then potentially go out again.
Yeah, certainly. Lorenzo's improved to a 30.4. Still a little bit off the times of practice, so that's interesting just to see if the tyres maybe do take quite a while for the optimum window, or people are struggling like we mentioned earlier. But yeah, the times are super close between second and third. Giuliano and Jonathan Ogden, 4 tenths. They're both in the 4 tenths gap, so that'll be really interesting for the race. I think we could see a good squabble there for 20 minutes.
Yeah, and also Sciurti and Felvis, 7,000ths of a second between them, and then Thomas Potter with a 167, so about a tenth back off of them. So, it's looking good for qualifying, but like we always say, it's not always just about the qualifying time. It's about your race pace and how you can make the car come on, and how you can switch the tyres on and how you can manage that, because we've seen a few people come up proper to that in the middle of the races, especially in last week's run at Interlagos, where I think the track caught a lot of the drivers out more than anything, because they weren't expecting the amount of degradation in the tyres they potentially had. Maybe some of them just hadn't done the race prep they needed to, or the race runs that potentially they should have, to get a feeling for the car. But it is all to play for. And Johnny Ogden now going into third place with 130.930. So again, incredibly close between second down to be honest, 7th place now. So this is potentially anyone's, but Sentra here over 4 tenths clear in first place. Will anyone be able to challenge him with 1 minute and 30 left to go?
Yeah, I was just about to mention that. Very minimal time left, so don't know if anybody else is sort of going to get competitive lap times in. Could be a few across the line at the last minute. But interestingly, I'm just watching Nicky Taylor here. He came into the pits and he'd come back out with 1 minute and 20 seconds left, and I don't think he's going to have enough time, or it's going to be very close to see if he can actually get another lap in. And even if he does, then the tyres aren't going to be in that optimum window. So it'll be interesting to see if his strategy call actually played out, or if he's made a crucial error.
Yeah, it's a great spot that actually, and I wonder, is that Nicky that's just pulled off? Oh no, he's still going. I thought it was Nicky. Potentially it's... maybe not. I was wrong. I thought maybe he pulled off and realised that he maybe had made a mistake there, but hey look, he's still going round, so he clearly thinks he's going to be able to make it with 40 seconds left on the clock. It'd be interesting to see if he does make this, and might be worth going on board with him. Just going to come right down to the wire, and like you say, he's going to have had to have pushed so hard on this outlap that his tyres are not going to be in the optimum window here for him to be able to really nail that lap in, as Carl Felvis goes P4 with a 130.963. So again, these times are incredibly close, all between sort of the top 8 now, top 9 should I say, even top 10, even with Adam Lyle at 31.3. So look, this again, it's still anyone wants to play for, as we've got 7 seconds left, and do you know what? I think Nicky has actually made it with 2 seconds left on the clock. Let's see what he can do.
Yeah, certainly the pressure's going to be on here, and the high stakes of this championship. You can't afford any mistakes. It's so close. Just looking down the top 10, 8 tenths separating them, and from fifth downward, second downwards to 10th is separated by 3 tenths. So that just goes to show you how close it is between everyone. Nicky's come in, a lot of people have come in. There's still people running out on circuit, but now we wait for the countdown as everyone finishes their laps.
I was just about to say, I wonder if actually Nicky missed it. I wonder if maybe there was a delay with the clock at the top, but it seems as everyone is now in from qualifying. So Nicky not getting that final lap in that he wanted and finishing P9, but Lorenzo Sentra taking P1. He's going to be incredibly happy with that with a 30.390. So massively ahead of Giuliano Giarco, but hey look, I mean, like you said, second through to 10th, 11th place now is really only separated by around a second or so, or less than a second. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting night's racing, I think. So let's, seeing as all the drivers are now into there, I think we'll into the pit. Sorry, we'll now go to our ad break from our sponsor, and we'll catch you after the break. and welcome back to our qualifying interviews. And Thomas is joined now by Lorenzo Centra.
So hi Lorenzo, well done on your pole position. That was a mega qualifying effort, and by 3/10, that's no small margin. So really great job there. Talk us through sort of what were your sort of pre-race prep going into that qualifying session. Were you sort of looking for a toe, or were you just sort of out there banging in the laps?
Yeah, thank you for that. But the qualifying it was incredible, it was amazing. The setup it was good, the pace it's okay, and the feeling anything at all. And the qualifying it's one thing, but the race is another one. And I will try to do the same, and I will try to keep the pace in this race.
Well, brilliant. The other thing I wanted to ask you as well, do you have any sort of prep going into, what are sort of your thoughts going into race one? Is it, pedal to the metal, or is the tyre degradation bad round here, or sort of are you conserving, or are you just flat out from the word go?
Yeah, it's the grade of the tire is a lot in this circuit, and I will try to take a safety pace to not consume a lot the tires today, and that's it.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a very good plan. And sort of the last question I wanted to ask you: is there anyone you'd like to shout out on this stream whilst you're on the live stream?
Sorry, I don't understand. Can you please?
Anyone you'd like to thank on the live stream?
Thank you to all my teammates and my team for the setup and the work behind this car, and that's all.
Well, thank you Lorenzo, and yeah, good luck for the race. You're in a very good position, and hopefully we'll be talking to you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And there we have it there, Lorenzo Centra with an outstanding qualifying run there, and putting himself nearly 4/10 ahead of P2, so it'd be great to see what he can do. Now, what we are going to do is we're going to speak to one of the Phoenix drivers here, Jonathan Ogden. So we've offered the opportunity for some drivers in the championship to come and speak to us in the qualifying room, regardless of position, just to tell us a little bit about themselves. And I think, Jonathan, it'd be great to hear a little bit about you and also your documentary.
Hi there. Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I know I'm not on pole, but close enough. Yeah, no, I thought I saw that and I thought, yeah, I'll try and get myself on. I've got a documentary out now on YouTube for people if they want to see it. It's called Non-Stop. If you go into YouTube, type Non-Stop by Jack Kinsella, it'll be one of the top two searches there. It's only half an hour, it's for free, but it's a quick story of my journey, I guess, from I used to be in a wheelchair when I was from the ages of 12 to 14, and I had to learn how to walk again, and it's my journey from that back into into real life racing, and all the struggles that come with it, not only like physically, mentally, financially. I mean, they're the top three really, but we've won something like 10 awards now from film festivals, so it's getting good, and I hope everyone, if you give it a watch, you enjoy it, and let me know what you think.
I must admit, Johnny, I was waiting so long to watch it because I wasn't able to make the screenings, the pre-screenings that were out, which was quite frustrating. But when I did get to watch that on YouTube, it was absolutely phenomenal. The videography that was done was absolutely brilliant, and the documentary was absolutely fantastic, and it was actually really captivating and very well done. So I must admit, yeah, it is a great watch. So for anyone that hasn't seen it, it is actually tagged in the description of this video. So please, if you haven't seen it already, go give it a watch. It's absolutely fantastic, and I'm sure Johnny will really appreciate that. Johnny, just before we let you go, we've got 4 minutes until the race. What is your plan for race one? You're starting P3 on the grid. So you've got a great opportunity here, and you're coming off the back of last week's race, where you managed to get into that small collision, and go flying off the track. So what are your plans?
I'd like to win, but I think Lorenzo, like I said, is just like you said earlier, 4 attempts, nearly half a second, is quite crazy. I mean, the next, I think 4 or 5 positions were all within a tenth of each other. So I'm just going highest I can. I love first. I'm going to gun for that. All else fails second. You know, that if I can hold on to third as a minimum, then we're laughing.
Well, look, we did just mention before, look, potentially starting on pole is not always the best way to go, especially with the long run up the hill. You know, we've seen it in multiple F1 races where starting P1 has actually been a hindrance unless you can get out that first corner pretty quickly. So, hey, you never know what might happen. So look, Johnny, best of luck for the race ahead. Is there anyone you wanted to shout out on the stream?
Forgot to mention the guy who scored the documentary is Jamie Kesby, amazing scorer. You can actually find the entire playlist from the documentary on Spotify. If you do type in non-stop Jamie Kesby, it will be on there. Also, this week, me, Adam, and Olivia, teammates, they're in the race as well. They're not too far behind us. We've all been working really hard this week and helping each other, so a big shout out to them too.
Awesome. Well, look, best of luck, Johnny, and potentially might be speaking to you at the end of the race.
I'll see you at the end of the race, hopefully.
See you later.
Cheers, guys. See you in a bit.
Good luck. And there we have it, Johnny Ogden there in P3, and telling us about his documentary. And again, for those who haven't seen it, please click the link in the description and go give it a watch. It's absolutely captivating, and it's yeah, probably one of the best 30 minutes you can spend watching something on YouTube. So please do go and give it a watch, as we've got 1 minute left to go. Thomas, who's your money on? Come on, tell me.
I mean, you'd have to say Lorenzo after the qualifying, but I just don't know. The toe's going to be so strong around here, and he's got Giuliano as well behind him, a teammate, so that could potentially come into play if he's defending from Jonathan. But as we just heard from Jonathan there, he's going to be going for it as well. Adam with a really good qualifying up in P4, and then Kyle in P5. Even with that ballast, he's put in such a mega result. And like we saw at Interlagos last week, even with the ballast, he performed just as well, almost at Alton Park. So yeah, I really don't know. But it would have to be Lorenzo currently because he's starting from pole. But it's going to be so close.
Yeah, well, let's find out, shall we? Minute left to go until the lights go green. I am going to put my money potentially on an outside bet here of Adam Lyle. Up into P4, he's had a couple of disastrous rounds, and I think he'll say that himself. But the opportunity, I think, is there for anyone potentially in the top 10 here to pick up some very good points and potentially win the race too. So let's see how it goes. I think we've got about 20 seconds left until the lights go on. What else have we got here? Just looking to see if there's anyone potentially out of position. Again, Josh down in 14th. We spoke about this before. A very capable driver, just not quite finding the pace with this car. I'm sure he will do, but yeah, maybe missing his mean green racing team teammate of Eric Axelson here. So yeah, I suppose we'll see how it goes as the engine notes rise. And waiting for the lights here. It seems to be quite a long delay. Here we go. There we go. Look at that. Lights are on. So we'll wait for the countdown. And we've got 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4, 5, and 6 as the engine notes rise. And we are off here at Red Bull Ring. A great getaway from Lorenzo Sentra here as every single driver starts to try and bunch up here. Everyone's tucking in the toe. It's all going to be about who can make it through the first corners. They're all going incredibly clean through here. And who's that going flying off? That's Carl Felvers. Off onto the first corner. Again, we have a fair few crashes here into the first corner. And who was that else that went off with him? Oh, it's Bettini as well. So Thomas Potter, Bettini, and Kyle have all managed to collect each other as Kyle goes down back into 10th place here. As they now go side by side into T2. Again, it was the last of late breakers, but Lorenzo Sentra, country cruising out here, has managed to gap the lot of them, and 7 temps out in front already.
Yeah, I was just watching that corner or turn 1 incident. Kyle really put the old squeeze on Bettini, then moved out to the outside. Bettini was collected by Potter, I think, as we see a massive lock-up and a huge hit in the background. Who was that? Sciarti, yeah, huge bit of contact there. But just going back to that turn 1 incident, Nicky Taylor was also involved in the accident, so that's a huge shame for him after such a good qualifying. Is that Adam?
It is
Adam's off in the
indeed.
grass as well. Absolutely carnage-filled scenes here on lap 1 at Red Bull Ring. It didn't disappoint.
Well, no, and you know, some people are going to say it again. It's commentator's curse. I put my money on him, and yeah, I think I've lost that bet already. But as we see Ethan Hill going off in the background as well now, and Ethan Hill potentially with PC issues once again. He is back, but I wonder if he's got internet troubles here as he regains control of the car on the track. Nathan Taylor in 20th position. But again, look, Lorenzo Sentra out and clear by a second already from Giuliano Giarco. So the best start that he could have thought.
Alex Forster in turn 1. Sorry to interrupt you there.
No, by all means. That's a rule going round.
Yeah, he got tagged. I believe that was by Josh Martin, so really unfortunate there. Got Jonathan in a really good P3, just in the toe there of Giuliano. Olivia's made a mega start along with Jacob Gannon. They've gone from almost the back of the grid as we see more spinners. I think that was Bettini again, or was that it was Tabaroni, unfortunately. But yeah, just going back to Olivia, she's come from 18th and up to 10th, and Jacob in front of her, and I think that's Adam back down to P14, but you know he's got no ballast on the car, so it'll be interesting to see how he can make his recovery as we see him go down the inside. Yeah,
I mean, it's a carnage-filled couple of first laps, which isn't what we always want to see, and I think there's going to be a hell of a lot of drivers out there with damage to their cars. As you see here, Josh Martin just really struggling with the understeer there. Maybe potentially he's got some damage, but it was exit stage left, exit stage right, and exit stage over the barrier at one point there for several of the drivers. So, you know, like we did say that things could be a little bit topsy-turvy. The cars do struggle. They are very snappy on the rear end around this track, and I think a fair few people just getting caught out on cold tyres, cold brakes, and just losing the rear as Josh almost loses it there in prime fashion, but manages to collect it. So great reactions from him. But again, look, it's turned the tides have changed here for everyone in the leaderboard standings here, and you know, like you say, Olivia up to P7 from pretty much the back of the grid. So yeah, some great stuff from her. And again, look, Nicky Taylor losing it on that exit curve there on T1. We saw a lot of drivers do. He's managed to get it going again, but he's going to have damage on the front end of that car, and how much aero performance might he have lost?
Yeah, indeed. Thomas has made a good recovery as well. As we see just in front of him, we see Andrea Ruggi up the inside. We see Olivia out wide, and there's just battles going on everywhere. I don't really know where to look, to be honest with you.
it's all over the place.
We've got Jacob going for the move now on Olivia, just behind Josh Martin. Is he going to send Josh Martin as well? He is. Oh, there's big contact. Who was that sent off in? I think, it was Jacob Gannon sent off into the gravel. Olivia now on the outside of Josh Martin. Again, it's all kicking off, and we're only 5 minutes in.
Yeah, look, Josh Martin started P14, and we were saying he was struggling with the car, and he's already up to P6. Olivia in P7, so I think it just goes to show, you know, if you play it nice and cool and you keep out of the way of all the trouble, then actually you can make some great positions up here. But what it does mean is now, look, Josh Martin 13 seconds off the pack for P5 and upwards. So, you know, this is where the struggles are going to be. As Lorenzo Sentra with a 1:30.956, that's fastest lap of the race on lap 3 already, with a 1.1 second gap to Giuliano Giarco. So, you know, he is pulling. He did say he was going to do this and he was going to play it safe. He's got the clean air. But look, there's still 15 minutes left of this race. Anything could happen.
Yeah, certainly. As we see Giuliano here in P2, just starting to gap Jonathan Ogden ever so slightly. He gaps up to 9/10. But Jonathan, don't rule him out. He's looking very quick here. And Giuliano is just outside of the toe on Lorenzo. So one small mistake from Lorenzo could mean they're back in the toe. And Giuliano could potentially drag Jonathan in for a top 3 fight. But they have really checked out from the pack. Kyle 5 seconds back off that little turn 1 sort of incident, should we call it. And then Ricardo with a nice gap both in front of him and behind him. And then we've got that absolutely mega battle between Josh, Olivia, Alex, Andrea and Thomas.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of drivers here getting really late onto the brakes, and they're coming up proper on the exit and losing a lot of positions. I think that's where we're starting to see a lot of the changes here on the board. But look, I think a bit of a shout out here to Kyle, actually, because he is running 30 kilos of ballast. It looked like he actually got loaded right at the start of the race into the first corner, potentially from behind. So that'll be one for the stewards to look at. but to make his way back up from being fired off on the first corner, he's doing an incredibly good job to be where he is. So yeah, props to him.
Yeah, certainly, and I think he might actually just be getting that gap down ever so slightly.
Oh,
You see
and
when he
just
comes across
there,
the line.
Alexander Link, and looked like Sciurti. Was it Sciurti? Yeah, as well. Or both going around with Rugi, Andrea Rugi. So look, again, the cars all over the shop. It's just controllability. I think there's a lot of drivers pushing here on these tyres, and the cars are just saying no. Whether this is set up, potentially it's the way that they've got the cars set. But a lot of these drivers had opted to try and go for as sort of lower suspension height as they could, and I'm wondering if maybe they're getting caught on curbs here and just getting themselves almost beached per se, and spinning themselves round. So it's not the perfect start for a lot of people within this race, but you know, it's making it exciting.
Yeah, certainly. Just watching now on the rejoin after that incident between Sciurti. Vince Chan was collected, really unfortunately, in the rejoin and sent off spinning towards the barrier. Just avoided it, but that would be a shame because he was having a really good race, up I think 7 positions, so he was having a really good one. Nicky's still not out of it. Just keeping an eye on that with 9 kilos of ballast. He is still in the fight. He's in that pack. He hasn't dropped away, and even with some potential damage after the turn 1 hit that he had, still running very well.
Yeah, I'll just again looking at this battle between Josh Martin and Olivia. You've got Thomas Potter that's joined the back of them now, as all 3 of them sideways into the last corner, running slightly wide on that exit curb. Olivia did manage to actually dive up the inside of Josh, and you know, Josh was the last of late breakers and made it stickers. Thomas Potter now goes up the inside of Olivia into the first corner, very late on the brake. Does he make it stick? He does indeed. Both missing that yellow sausage curb, and that's the curb that they all need to be careful of. That's the one that they're going to get themselves beached on, and what's been spinning a lot of these drivers round. So it's very finite between carrying the speed that you need through there and potentially losing it, as Olivia looks up the inside. Tom leaves the room, and it's very tight through there. It's well played between the both of them. They both gave each other racing room, and you know, I think Olivia thought better of it. I think it's an opportunity for her now just to tuck onto the back of Tom and see what she can do through the next sequence of corners.
Yeah, certainly. Josh Martin there just hitting the sausage curb on the outside. Got very sideways, so we just see that sort of oversteer moment come in for him. So that's potentially hurting his rear tyres as he's using all of the circuit to try and get away from Thomas and Olivia, but he had a little lock up there, and I think Thomas his pace is looking pretty good. He's keeping the car nice and smooth, not taking too much of those nasty curbs, and yeah, he's looking pretty rapid. So it'll be interesting to see how he can recover after being in the skirmish of lap 1.
Yeah, no, I think all these battles have been going on, and the collisions that have unfortunately happened has meant that pretty much now 5th place downwards are at least 11 seconds off the top 4, which is a monstrous gap. And realistically, it's potentially one where the top 4 are now cleared away, and can sort of push on after one another. I think we see here for Giuliano Giarco, he was reeling in Lorenzo Sentra and got the gap down to about 0.7 of a second. And unfortunately for him, I think whether he made a slight mistake or not, or maybe he's just trying to conserve the tyres, he's back down now to 1.4 seconds behind him. So yeah, it's 10 minutes left to go with this race. It's been absolute pandemonium, sorry, for the first half. I wonder what it's going to be like now for the second.
Yeah, certainly, potentially, if Giuliano can catch up just inside that toe, potentially he can tag onto the back of Lorenzo and they can just work together. I know from my real life racing, you never want a teammate to be fighting you if you're in a good spot until the last sort of couple of laps, so you don't get, you don't lose too much time to Jonathan. Just going on to Jonathan quickly, I'm not sure what's happened to him, but he's 3.5 seconds off the lead, so I don't know if there was a potential mistake from him that crept in or whatnot, but it's allowed Kyle to only be 3 seconds off the back of him, so it'll be interesting to see. Jonathan can't really afford another mistake here, otherwise Kyle's going to be all over that, even with the ballast that he's got.
Yeah, well, Jonathan did mention that he just didn't think that he had the pace of Lorenzo Sentra and Giarco in P2, so potentially it's all in his head there as Josh Martin gets it loose and spins it round on the second to last corner there, just on that exit curb, and that's catching a lot of drivers out, and that potentially ruined his race here as he drops now down to P10.
Yeah, certainly those tyres are now going to be flat spotted, so he's going to have to drive nice and smoothly for the next couple of laps to be able to bring those back into the operating window. Yeah, that is a shame for Josh Martin. He's having a good race.
And he goes
As he
again.
do another spin, as he goes off onto the grass and backwards into the barriers, that is not going to help his hopes. As he loses even more place now, dropping behind Alexander Link, just inside of Alex. Yeah, that's really a shame. He was having a good race up until that point. Adam now making a good recovery as well.
I was going to say those tyres are going to be like 50 pence pieces now, and they're going to be red hot, as I think he knows that himself now. As you can see there again, sliding through the corner, those rears must be red hot, and he's going to struggle, I think, now to really make that stick. But here, look here now, Giuliano Giaco now only 6/10 off of Lorenzo Sentra, so potentially they're a mistake for our pole man, and now being reeled in as we come into the last corner here. And that curve just there that we see on stream was the one curve that caught Josh Martin out, as both drivers run a little bit wide. I wonder if maybe they are running these setups incredibly low, and these cars are getting caught on the curbs. But again, the lower the car is, the faster it's going to go with the downforce, and the better turn they're going to get, as they both go very smoothly through there. Just collects that sausage curb. Doesn't manage to kick the back end out though, which is great driving from him, but is he going to be close enough down this straight to be able to get the toe?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, he's within 4/10 now, so Giuliano has really picked up the pace here, or Lorenzo has made a slight mistake, I'm not quite sure. But yeah, a little lock up there, nothing too major. But another thing I wanted to add as well is, you know, you say about that lower of the car, faster it is. I fully agree with you, and these drivers are going to have to be so smooth on the inputs. You know, on the brake they're going to have to be smooth, on the throttle input they're going to have to be smooth, on the steering they're going to have to be smooth. And we see here a few drivers still trying to drive it, you know, potentially like setups they had at Interlagos or Alton Park or whatnot, and it's really hurting them with a few mistakes. So the World Racing team out front here are doing a really good job of just staying in that position, and Jonathan as well, just running a nice smooth race. Kyle and Ricardo as well.
Yeah, no, it's a tough one, really, isn't it? I think some drivers may not be as in tune with, you know, changing the setups. They are semi-lock setups, but there are a number of things that you can change, whether that's front and rear wing angles, whether that's suspension travel, whether that's, you know, camber and toe. There are a lot of things that you can modify on these, as well as brake bars. And Giaco there, getting it very sideways on the last corner and losing some time, so that's not going to be exactly what he wants, as he now goes 6/10 down on Centra on just that last lap alone. So he's going to have to collect himself up now and go at it again with the last 6 minutes left of this race. But yeah, a difficult one for him, as we see Adam Lyle again tumbling down the order and, you know, back into the gravel. So again, just a disastrous race for him, and you have to feel for him, really. He's put a number of laps in, he has been incredibly fast, but he just can't seem to, you know, find the knack of these cars and get himself up the front where he should be.
Yeah, 100%. Just seeing Jonathan there run slightly wide, the gap back up to 4.2 seconds there. And Giuliano as well, the gap's up to a second there. So, you know, it's fluctuating between the top two. It comes down to 4/10, back up to a second. I don't know if they're sort of just backing off now and conserving the 1-2, or if they're still going for it and a few mistakes creeping in. But Kyle's also picked up the pace as well. Gap coming down between him and Jonathan, but I don't think there's enough time in the race to be able to do anything.
Yeah, I wonder if Carl's is potentially going to use this round as a potentially like a point scorer, just for the consistency. I mean, you don't have to win every race, but if you're pretty much there or thereabouts up there throughout the season, it definitely pays dividends towards the back end. If you can just stay consistent, let's say you don't have to win every single race, you can be right up there in the championship. And realistically, this is all he needs to do right now. It's just keep hold of this fourth place, which he's got no pressure from behind. He potentially could catch Johnny if Johnny makes a mistake, but again, that 30 kilos of ballast, this might be one for Carl to just say, you know what, I'm not as fast as the ones in front. This ballast is holding me back, especially around this track. The setup's not quite there. Let's just take the points and we'll regroup for the next round.
Yeah, 100%. Carl's doing a really good job in this championship, it must be said. You know, 2 P1s at Alton Park, and then podium finishes at Interlagos as well. It's really mega, just the consistency of staying out of trouble. Obviously he's had a few fishes and bashes along the way, but look, you know, it's amazing to see. You know, Jonathan's up there and he has the pace in every race, but it's just incidents that have caught these drivers out. And Adam really, you know, showing over the championship how not easy it is to keep the car on the circuit and you know, not get involved in those incidents, which through no fault of no fault of his own has he been involved in. So yeah, Kyle's doing a really good job, but so are other drivers as well. Even if you survive even just one race, you have to applaud that and you know, congratulate them on that.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at the YouTube chat here. Dave saying, "Go on, Josh, Avon." Unfortunately, Josh isn't having much at the moment. Down in P15, he was doing well, but that one wrong move over the curb sent him round sideways. So potentially on for a better result for race 2. So carry on cheering him on, Dave. Ewan says, "Go on, Jacob Gannon." Jacob is doing well and he's holding his own in 13th. So big shout out to him. And then Ethan. What happened to you again? Gotta love PC issues. I was running 4th at the beginning. You were, and then I see you phase through a fence, leave the track, and then reappear again. So whatever you need to do to that PC to get that running again for the second race, definitely try and get that done. But one thing I just want to focus on here is just the difference in lines between Giaco and Sentra. Now there's 7 tenths between them, but if you watch here, Sentra's going to use all of the curb on the left-hand side, which makes me think he's running that car slightly higher than what Giaco is. Giaco doesn't really even touch it. He stays within the boundaries of the track. And you see there the difference of how much more Sentra uses that track and gets such a better run out of the corner. And this is apparent pretty much on every single corner. So clearly Sentra's much more in tune with the car, shall we say, and much more confident to get himself over those curves. As you can just see here, the understeer for Giaco having to wait so long to get onto the power. He is sticking with him though. So, you know, a little twitch there from Sentra as he goes through the tight twisties. But this is all still to play for. Giaco's got a great run.
Yeah, 100%. Like you said there, I think that might be set up potentially or just not being too confident. After doing a bit of testing, like I mentioned previously, the curbs are so aggressive around here. As you see there, Giuliano just running over that exit curve of the final corner. Ironically, but yeah, really unsettles these F4 cars, which are so low to the ground, especially if sort of Lorenzo's running it even lower. Then you know that you're gonna have to be super careful with that. As Jonathan's really dropped off the back now, and the gap's only 1.7 seconds between him and Kyle. So Kyle's almost in that toe now, and with 2 laps to go, anything is to play for that final, podium spot.
Yeah, 2 things I'm focusing on here. One's Giaco and Sentra. There's only 6 tenths between them. But have a look at Nicky Taylor, has managed to wangle his way up to P8, chasing down Bettini now, and there's only a couple of cars gaps in between them. So Nicky's come out of nowhere and managed to, bring himself back down from pretty much the back of the pack. So a big shout out to him for that one. We missed that one on the stream, but just showing how much of a strong driver he is and actually how much pace he had at the start of this session.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the pace that he's shown over the course of this race and the consistency is absolutely mega. As he's on the back of Bettini now, and the toe kicking in, he's gaining. I sense a dive. There is. He's going to pull up to the right-hand side. No, he's going to back off. Is that Bettini going in deep? No, he's managed to get it stopped. Nicky is going to get the run though, and we could see a very good battle through these next sequence of corners.
I don't know who to watch here, whether we watch Giaco, we watch Nicky and Bettini here, but it looks like these two are going to be the closest for the meantime. They've got 17 seconds left. Will they cross the line in time? Just going to double check they will, so they'll get the extra lap out of this. So they're now leading on to the last lap of the race. To go back on board with Nicky Taylor. It's difficult to pass around these tracks, especially around these final complex of corners, because you're more hanging on, making sure that you don't lose it, especially here as you see Nicky just minimal input on the steering wheel, but he does get it sideways again. It's very difficult. The rear end gets so loose through those last 2 corners as he then drops off the back of Bettini. So Bettini's definitely got it nailed through there better than what Nicky has, but I think this is going to be a common theme, to on this sort of last lap, but it makes you wonder what the reverse grid race is going to be like as we're on board now with Giaco, and we're going to run on board with MTN, because I think it's going to be the closest battle between anyone here. And I don't know if he's got enough in the car to make it happen. Again, as you see Sentra go out wide on that curve and get such a better run. Giuliano now really struggling with the understeer, and he's holding on, and we'll give him credit for that, but I just don't think there's enough pace in that car to get the overtake done.
Yeah, and I think they've also got to be quite careful as their teammates. And just another battle that I picked up on is Ricardo Lena and Thomas Potter. Thomas Potter's got the overlap. They're side by side going into the final complex of corners now, so it's going to be really interesting to see how they play this. With only 5 corners left to go.
Yeah, we're going to go back on board with Giaco and Sentra here as Sentra's coming into the last 2 corners. He's just got to hold on, take it nice and easy, and he'll secure his race win here. Is he going to make it happen as he comes through the last corner? And it's Lorenzo Sentra that takes the win for race 1 of round 3 here at Red Bull Ring, and a big well done to him, followed by Giuliano Giaco, and Johnny Ogden's got to be happy with a P3 there, followed by Carl Felvis. So Carl just couldn't quite get it done, even though he was just a couple of tenths quicker per lap going into the end there. So, Kyle still one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, 100%. And Thomas Potter managed to go around the outside of Ricardo with a mega move to secure the P5. Nicky Taylor's not going to quite have enough.
Checking here, but I think it's +1 lap. I don't think that was the end. They've still got another lap to go. The checker flag did not come out, and Sentra's still going round. They all are. So this is the final lap now. Yeah, we got that one wrong. Well, I say we. It was me.
Yeah, but there's a bit of lap traffic as well for Lorenzo. So, if he thought he was home, yeah, he's certainly not. With difficult corners to come up on him, and I think that is Adam Lyle that they're coming up on. So, yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see if he gets out the way or if the gap's big enough that they won't have to deal with him.
Do you know what? I could have thought that was it, and he took the win. I was a lap too soon. Well, that's on me. We try for the second time, and Lorenzo Sentra coming into the last 2 corners here. Gets a little bit wide on that exit curve, but again, just using all of it. He's very confident as he comes into the last corner now, following Adam Lyle. Gets a little bit squirrely on the exit, but this is going to be the final lap, and this is going to be the checkered flag wave here for Lorenzo Sentra that does take the win for race 1 of round 3 here at Red Bull Ring. And a little bit of showboating. Hopefully he doesn't spin it. That has come across to a few drivers before, but Giaco takes P2 and Johnny Ogden takes P3. Carl Felvis in P4. So. And Thomas Potter in P5 as well. Did Nicky Taylor manage to get the run for P7? He did. And Nicky Taylor finishing in a very well-placed P7 after the troubles that he encountered at the start of the race. So a big well done to him too. But again, look, even though it wasn't the biggest shake-up that we thought it was going to be, there is several drivers there that are out of position. And yeah, a big well done to everyone that did manage to keep it on the track and keep out of trouble, as the drivers are now going to send themselves round back to the pits and get themselves ready for the second race. So we will catch you all after this ad break.
What is going on, guys, and welcome back to Nerd PC Turbo Tech Reviews. Now today is something a little bit different. Normally we do just reviews on a single item, but today we're going to be showing you guys what you can expect from Nerd PC. Nerd PC is a bespoke building company where you can get absolutely any sort of style of gaming PC, office work PC, retail, or even for school work. This PC here demonstrates how small they can be, but yet still pack an absolute powerful punch. So from such a small computer like this, you may be worrying about heat, but these fans inside of here keep it absolutely ice cold as well as quiet. Now listen to this. Nice and quiet. Beautiful. Now we build completely different style of computers. Like I said, from this little one up here, it's all down to you. You get to decide on which case you want to use. You get to decide if you want it all flashy and RGB. You get to decide whether you want it completely plain and black. Remember, we did the hard part of figuring out which components work best for you for your value for money, but you get to decide on how it looks. If you're after something that's in your face, some bright and powerful as this. So this build here is in a Gigabyte C102 glass Arctic Ice case with 320mm Cooler Master fans at the front, 360mm all-in-one cooler at the top. This full white ice build does look insane, and I can assure you, you will not be disappointed. So if you're on the market for a brand new shining gaming computer, or if you want a computer for home use, retail, or office work, it's completely down to you. We just make it happen. So if you haven't done already, go and head over to the website at www.nerdpc.co.uk, have a browse through, see what's on there, or drop us a message directly on Facebook, and we'll do our absolute best to make it happen for you. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it. And if you are new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And if you did enjoy this video, hit the like for me, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye!
So hello everyone and welcome back after a thrilling race one here at the Red Bull Ring. Well done to our top three of Jonathan, Giuliano and Lorenzo Sentra taking the win. I'm going to be joined here by Jonathan. Jonathan, let's break that race down. How was that for you? Obviously there was lots of carnage behind you. How did you sort of manage that race start?
Yeah, it was a good race start. I saw. I could have gone down the inside at turn 1, but I thought it was a long race ahead, so I thought I'd just follow them through. I thought I had the pace to keep on the back of them, which I did. It's just I made two mistakes on the last corner, 2 laps in a row, which then put me down. And then the last few laps, my tyres were a bit gone trying to keep up with them at the start, and Kyle was closing in, I think, half a second a lap, which is a bit scary. But yeah, it was overall, yeah, I think it was quite a well-maintained race.
Yeah, no, it looked at the car looked very fast out there. Well, another thing I wanted to ask was how was sort of the tyre degradation? Obviously, Interlagos was quite a big killer for tyres. Is this as bad, or is it sort of Alton Park style where it's not too bad on the tyres?
For me, it was okay up until the last few laps, and then there was a bit of a drop off. Nothing too crazy, but it was noticeable to the point where obviously you could see my lap times dropping a little bit. But it wasn't anything unpredictable.
Sure. And the final thing I wanted to ask, sort of, what are your plans going into this reverse grid? Obviously, you're going to be right down near towards the back after the reverse grid. So you sort of looking to just stay out of trouble, or are you going to be go trying to get good points in for the championship?
We'll see how turn 1 goes, and then we'll go from there. There's no point planning anything after that.
Brilliant. Well, thank you, and hopefully we'll be talking to you again after race 2. But until then, good luck for race 2.
Cheers, mate. Take care.
You too.
That was Johnny Ogden there with a solid third place finish. As we now move on to our second place driver, Giuliano Giarco, and Lorenzo is here to translate for him. Giuliano, again, it's great to see you on the podium. A cracking drive there from you. Just talk me through it. How did that go?
Ma gli ho detto come va, come è andata la gara.
Digli che dai, l'hai vista, digli che è andata abbastanza bene, ho tenuto il passo che potevo dietro di te.
Yeah, the race it was good, and he kept the pass and tried to stay behind Lorenzo, and try to push him to not make other mistakes, and that's it.
Cool. And what is your plan for race 2? Obviously, it's a reverse grid race, so what's the plan going into this? Again, is it just trying to keep out of trouble, or is it going to be push and try and bank those points that you need for the championship?
Ok, qual è il tuo piano per gara 2, diciamo? Se è spingere oppure cercare di stare più tranquillo?
Fare più punti possibili, visto il problema che ho, diciamo. Digli così, basta.
Want to take as much point possible in the second race. And despite his problem, this problem of today of his pedals.
Oh no, he had a problem with his pedals. Okay, well look, Giuliano, well done for P2 in the first race, and we wish you the best of luck for race 2.
Well, now finally I'm joined by your race 1 winner, Lorenzo. Lorenzo, that looked like a mega drive from yourself. You sort of pulled that gap away and then never looked back, really, did you?
Well, yeah, it was a difficult race for me, because the very fight, it was from me to me, because to myself, because if I make any mistakes, I can lose this position, and likely I had behind me Giuliano, my teammate, and he kept me relaxing to my pass, and I try to keep it.
Sure, 100%. We saw during the course of the race, you were using a lot more entry curb on the outside, really maximising the road, whereas Giuliano wasn't. Are you running a bit more of a safer setup compared to him, or is it just sort of driver preference on the lines?
I try to exploit a lot of exploit full the limit of the circuit, and I make this for all the free practice, and the pace it was a little bit slow we has in the free practice, because I try to keep a safe pace, and in fact to the end of the race have more slowly, according to me.
100%, and I'm going to ask the same question that I did to Jonathan. What are your sort of plans going into the reverse grid race? Obviously, you're going to be right at the very back this time. Is it sort of push for those positions, or is it sort of conserve and bank the points for the championship?
Yeah, I will try to not to make mistakes, and to keep a little bit of points for the classification, and that's it.
Brilliant. Well, thank you, Lorenzo, and hopefully we'll be talking to you again after race 2. Until then, go and get yourself ready, and have a good race.
Thank you.
So there we have it there. Lorenzo Centra, our race 1 winner, by, to be fair, a comfortable margin as well. And I know Giuliano was pushing, but it sounds like from that interview that potentially there was a little bit of team orders there, and maybe just working together just to bank the points that they need. And we've discussed this in previous races, that these teams will work together to try and maximize the points available and potentially have a preferential driver. But yeah, great point score from both of them. But with 2 minutes left to go, I think it's just worth noting here we've got Adam Lyle on pole, which after his first race potentially might be exactly what he needs to try and bank some valuable points and hopefully keep it on the track.
100%. It's going to be really interesting to see the reverse grid. Obviously, there was a lot of carnage in race 1, and that was where people were supposed to be. So, with people out of position here, it'll be really interesting to see if there's any more. And we hope that there won't be, but there potentially will be.
Yeah, so we now line up on the dummy grid with 2 minutes left to go. And Thomas, I'm going to let you take the lights out on this one, and you can commentate on Mr. Lyle out in first place here, and hopefully makes it through unscathed. Again, that it's one of these ones where potentially first place might not be the optimum position to be in if the driver behind you manages to tuck in on the back of you and get the drag down into T2, and that's realistically what Rugi's going to be looking at trying to do. You've got the likes of Catherine Potter in P4, Josh Martin P6, so Josh starting up the order a little higher this time, and hopefully will have learned from his mistakes in the first race there, and hopefully won't be dropping it on the curb. I think it's quite interesting to see that potentially Centra is running that safer setup and is actually able to explore the limits of the track, unlike some of the other drivers that might just be running that car a little bit low. And and Hamilton-esque, if they had the board under their car that was being checked by the race stewards, that might come in a little bit illegal. So hey, you never know.
100%. We saw quite a few penalties from Interlagos, and I think there's going to be even more for the stewards to look at here. They're going to be very busy for the next couple of days. But yeah, I mean, Adam, this is his real time to redeem himself. After that, just unlucky mistake in race 1. He's starting from pole. He's got the main championship contenders down low, so it'll be interesting to see if he can just build the gap, keep it nice and smooth, keep it off all the curbs. Conserve the tyres, and hopefully bring home a good result, as we are seconds away from the red lights.
It's going to be an exciting one, this reverse grid race for sure, as they always do entertain. So we wait now just for the lights to come on and the drivers to get ready to go.
And here we go. The engine notes will rise as we get 1 light, 2 light, 3 light, 4 light, 5 light, and the 6th light. The lights are eventually off, and we are racing for race 2 here at the Red Bull Ring for the Phoenix Sim Racing F4 World Championship. Adam Lyle with a mega start. Andrea Rugi and Vince Chan are left to battle it out for second place as Andrea is deep on the brakes, but Vince goes round the outside of him with an absolutely mega move, slightly off the circuit, but even so, they've left everyone else to squabble out behind, and Adam has really got himself a nice position to be in here, so he's just got to keep working on that and hopefully get away and get a good result.
Now I don't want to curse anything here, but just looking down the order, every single car made it into T1 and out again. As the commentator's curse comes in, and there's a huge pile up in T2. Do you know what? I'm not going to say anything anymore. I think I seem to ruin anything that I commentate on, which is a real shame because everyone was very, very cautious into T1, and looks like pretty much everyone has managed to get it back on the track. So potentially people not losing out as much as they thought, but you see the likes of Johnny Ogden getting collected there as we see another crash there in the background.
Yeah, Thomas Potter was involved in that first one. I think that was Bettini potentially. Not sure, but yeah, no, the World Racing team have had an absolute mare here at the start. I think they were involved in that hairpin incident, and a few of them were as well. So that's not going to help their Drivers' Championship hopes, as we see Thomas Potter right in the middle of them. But Adam Lyle, I don't want to jinx anything, and I'm not going to say he's doing a good job because you know what will happen. But yeah, he's going well so far.
Yeah, as we're just on board here with Nicky Taylor in P6, and there's a four-way scrabble here. As we see him going 3 wide down the straight. Is this going to play out, or could we see absolute carnage into T1? We're about to find out as they still go 3 wide into this corner. It looks like they potentially have all made it through just over the sausage curve. They've all managed to keep it going as they're still side by side down the straight here. So look, fair play to all of them. They're making it stick, but Nicky Taylor now on the back of Link. He's getting the toe, and we said, look, it's a long way down. Who's going to be latest onto the brakes? Nicky's just thinking better of it. It's a long race to go, 17 minutes of the race. We're right at the start here, but he has managed to make the position up on Chan as he now enters P5.
Yeah, 100%. And there was a little bump there actually from on the back of Kyle Felvis there on the exit that happened on the straight. So that was going to be interesting. But they're 3 wide for. Is that P3? They're 3 wide for it. No, P4. Sorry. Someone has turned sideways in the mix. I think that was Alexander Link. Nicky Taylor's up to P4. A few people in the gravel there, but Vince Chan also doing a good job as well.
Yeah, Link there did get it sideways. I think it was a little tap on the back there from Vince Chan, but did manage to hold it. So well done to him. As they're all still going, he's going to latch onto the back of him. Looks like Link's got a little bit more pace than Chan right now, and Chan slightly out of position, but still holding his own as Nicky Taylor's now making the push out in 4th. He's going to be chasing down Josh Martin, who incidentally is right on the back of Andrea Rugi here. As we go on board with him, and he's going to be able to get the run out of that final corner. Has he learned from the mistakes of race 1? Sorry, as he's tucked nicely here into the toe. Now, you know, is he either going to go for the move here, which it looks like he's going to do? As he, oh no, he's backed off. I don't know what quite that was there. It looked like Rugi had just lost a little bit down the straight, and whether he had an issue or not, and it looks like he has. I don't know if he's potentially got some lag there, but Josh Martin getting the clean pass that he needs as he waves goodbye to Rugi there and takes P2 quite nicely off of him. As again, Vince Chan now on the outside and just being overtaken, but is he going to go for a late dive bomb into this corner here now? And we're about to find out. Does he think better of it? And he does. He's backed out of it, and I think that's probably for the best, but that's now allowing a lot of the drivers now to get involved, and Giaco now saying thank you very much for doing that, and I'll take 9th place.
Yeah, 100%. The battle's really heating up here, and it's really good to see is that Giuliano now going for the move on Vince Chan there. Vince running quite deep into the corner, so that's going to now allow Tabaroni to get the inside and get that move complete. Nicky Taylor and Kyle Felvis as well, also having a very good race. Kyle always does well. He always thrives in these reverse grid races. Suddenly you'll see him, up in P4 after 5 minutes of racing, which he seems to have done here as well. A big surprise, but with that 30 kilos of ballast, he's got Alexander Link, all over the back of him. So this is going to prove to be really interesting to see sort of what the difference is. As Nicky Taylor also as well, this is a chance to come back from race 1 and the drama that he had there as he spins. I'm so sorry.
Do you know, I was waiting for it. Do you know, like the commentators got, we have to stop this. Maybe we should do silent race commentary and just not say anything and just let the sound of the engines play out and not say a word. Do you know, I was going to say, dare I say it, Adam Lyle was pulled out of 3.5 second lead to Josh Martin in P1. Now, that's all I'm going to say. I won't say anything else. And we'll see what happens there as we now go on board with Thomas Potter, who's managed to climb up to 10th position here, and he's looking around the outside, down the back straight here, and going into this type of hander. Is a beautiful move there, round the outside and then up the inside into the right-hander, and makes that stick and says, thank you very much, I'll take those places off your hands, as he clears now P9.
Another thing we just missed out on there, which was really interesting, it was Ricardo Lina that spun on the exit of turn 1, and I believe hit the wall as well, so that's not going to help. It's been a difficult evening for himself this evening, as we see Josh Martin just extending that gap ever so slightly to Andrea Rugi, but this is still really close. And Kyle Felver's sort of taken a train with him now, with Alexander Link, Alex Forster, Giuliano and Tabaroni just slightly off the back of that, as Vince Chan is also having a mega race as well. Might not have the overall pace of the leaders, but he's really holding his own here, and he's showing us what he's made of.
Yeah, do you know what? There's a number of drivers that have joined this championship and potentially haven't got the race experience that some of the other drivers do here that have competed in multiple championships before. So it's a learning curve for everyone. As you see, Johnny Ogden here getting a great run out of the last corner as he then takes Gannon straight down the straight, and what a run he's got, and he's going to be able to hopefully clear that by T1, which he does do. Does he manage to get the exit that he needs, or is Gannon going to be able to tuck in on the back of them, both over that sausage curve, and manage to collect it? This is going to be an interesting one to see if Gannon can just sit in his toe and pull along with him, which he is doing. Is there an opportunity for a late dive bomb?
Yeah, certainly. As we see here, Kyle now go for P3. He is past Andrea. Yes, he is. And that is now P3 secured. Now he'll be setting his sights on Josh Martin. The pace is looking really good. As I say that, Andrea Rugi sends it up the inside, goes deep. Kyle with the switchback move, and he's secured P3. Nicely done. But yeah, Andrea's not going to give this up without a fight, I don't think.
Yeah, I think Kyle thought better of that one and knew exactly what was going to happen. Just break that little bit earlier, knowing that Rugi was going to potentially send it up the inside. It's not the first rodeo for Kyle. And I think he just showed that there as he clears him and says, don't even bother trying to think about that one with me. I'm going to have that. And who's that just going off in the background? That's Rugi. Just as you say that, Rugi's now off into the wall and flying down the order. And it's a shame for him as he was right on the back of the pace with Kyle Felvers. But what that does now do is gives Kyle the opportunity to sort of pull away from Alexander Link behind him and Forster. And now chase after Josh Martin.
100%. As you see in the background there, that's Giuliano and Alex Forster going side by side into turn 1. That was a good move from Giuliano to get himself up into P5. Now we'll set his sights on Alexander Link, who's in hot pursuit of Kyle Felvers here. It'll be interesting to see if that gap can come down between Kyle and Josh, and if there's going to be a late battle at the end of the race.
Yeah, so something missed there. Johnny Ogden getting it all wrong on the first corner and getting himself sideways and losing some positions. But I'm just looking at the WRT drivers here, who again are really struggling, and I think if I'm not mistaken, potentially tripped up over one another. So not the greatest of starts for them, and not the positions gained that they'd really want. But hey, look, it is what it is, and these drivers are going to have to try and figure it out between them. But there's only 11 minutes left of this race, and they're really going to have to start pushing to make these positions up.
Yeah, 100%. It's really close between everyone, to be honest with you. We've got this little group sort of forging between Josh, Kyle, Alexander, Alex, and Giuliano, and then Tabaroni on the back of that. And then there's a slight gap. I think you said those WRT drivers are pushing their way through, sort of working as a team quite nicely. And the gap is coming down between Kyle and Josh, so it'll be interesting to see how Josh manages this one. As Kyle's got a train on him, he doesn't want to lose too many positions, only battling for one.
Yeah, as we just have a look here at Alexander Link, a tenth slower than Kyle on that last lap, but he's clinging on with him. He's not out the woods yet. And looks like he could be sizing up a little move on Kyle, potentially in the next few corners, if he can just keep this pace. So, Kyle just needs to take it easy now and sort of play the long game, as Johnny Ogden's now climbed back up through the pack and giving chase to Nicky Taylor. But Adam Lyle, I don't want to say it, 4 seconds out in front. He's 6 laps in. He's not put it in a wall. Is that a commentator's curse? I don't know. But we'll have to see. As Kyle Felvers now has closed right onto the back of Josh Martin, a big lock up from Josh. Again, we're seeing this a lot in these F4 cars where some of these drivers are really struggling just to get the cars under control into the corners. Big lock up there, and again, sort of like a similarity there between what Thomas Potter was experiencing in the previous rounds, where just couldn't quite get that bias dialed in and was really struggling on the tyres. And obviously if you're locking your tyres up into the corners, then that's going to really scrub them and get them incredibly hot for the next few corners, and isn't going to put them in a great position towards the back end of the race. There's still 9 minutes left to go. It's still all to play for, as you still see here now. Alexander Link right on the back of Kyle, so potentially that 30 kilos of ballast just hurting him a little bit, and it's given the opportunity now for Alexander Link to have a little look.
Yeah, 100%. The gap is super close now between Josh and Kyle, and this battle is really heating up, as you mentioned. Alexander's really picked up the pace again, like you mentioned, and he's looking feisty as old Alexander's. Giuliano and Alex as well in the background hoping to push up, and Thomas Potter's had a mega recovery as well after being involved in that lap 1 incident, dropping down to 20th, I think it was, or 18th, and he's back up to 7th place. And we can't forget he's got 27 kg of ballast as well. So all these drivers are doing tremendously well, adapting to the setups that they've had to create, managing their way through the bias that they've been given.
Yeah, it's just another thing to look at here. Ethan Hill DNFing again, so clearly didn't manage to fix the PC issues that he has, and we feel for him on that one, as I think the YouTube chat does too. So commiserations to him, and I think that's potentially one for him to take offline and see if anyone from Phoenix is able to help support him in trying to get those PC issues resolved after the race. So I'm sure there will be someone around to help try and figure that out, if not us ourselves. So yeah, unlucky to Ethan, but seems to be plagued with hardware issues, bless him. So yeah, well, hopefully he'll be able to come back stronger in the next one. As Alexander Link all over the back of Kyle now, and Kyle got very squibbly into that second to last corner and ran right out wide. That's not going to do him any good. He's managed to collect himself, but Alexander now right on the back of him, and if he can get a good run into this first turn and it manages to keep it in the straight and narrow, it's a good opportunity for him to get into the toe. But is Kyle close enough to Josh to be able to get the toe off him too? It might be a double DRS train here almost between the three cars, but this one's hotting up quite nicely.
Yeah, certainly. Kyle with a big moment there, but that sort of shows the experience of a championship leader there, managing to gather it up and settling himself down, and now he's all over the back of Josh Martin. I sense a potential move here. He's not going to be stupid, but at the same time he's got to get on with this, otherwise Alexander is going to be hot on his heels and snapping. So is there going to be a move? No, he's not quite close enough. As we see here again, Kyle, there's a big little tap, sorry, on the back of Josh Martin there, little sideways action, and this is Alexander's chance to potentially get past and try and go for Josh. But Kyle's wise to it, defends the inside line. He's got to force Alexander to the outside, which he does nicely, runs Alexander over the curb, and that's a nice position defended, and now he can set his sights back on Josh Martin. But it's a really difficult position for Kyle to be in here. I've had it a few times in my racing career where you're trying to look forward, but you also can't you can't ignore your mirrors, because one small trip up and you're going to have a train come past you. As he does the same thing with the penultimate corner.
I wonder if he's really struggling now on them tyres. He pushed incredibly hard at the start, and I wonder if now that's coming back to bite him, as Link now really tucking in on the back of him. But I think Alexander needs to be quite strategic in this, because through the sort of the long sweeping corners towards the back end of this circuit, they're just not really opportunistic areas for someone to make the overtake. There's a lot of load on the front tyres of the car, and realistically, the understeer is going to protrude more than anything. As Kyle Felvers here going wide, and is he going to go around the outside of Josh Martin, which he tries to do, leaves room, and Josh Martin just gets too tight on that corner and spins it round. We see that a lot. And unfortunately for Josh, that's just gifted P2 to Kyle quite nicely.
Indeed, it's a shame for Josh Martin. Again, it's been quite a difficult evening, but all of these sort of mistakes, you know what they say, you learn from your mistakes. He will certainly be doing that this evening, and hopefully he'll be able to gather himself up and push for the next one. But not all is lost. As we see Alexander down the inside of Kyle, this is his chance now. The gap has opened up, but Kyle is going to hang it around the outside again.
Yeah, again, it's that exact same place where Alexander tries to make the move. He goes out wide, tries to tuck it towards the inside. Kyle thinks better of it and knows exactly where to put that car. If I was Alexander right now, I would try and follow Kyle through these last 2 corners, sit right up onto the back of him, try and sit behind him into the first corner and then drag him down the straight, because I think that's the only opportunity he's going to have, unless Kyle does something like that and gets it squirrely. But Alexander being very smart about this, and maybe he's heeding my advice. We never know, but he's doing exactly what I thought he might. As he tucks in on him, is he going to make the move? He's thinking about it. Does he sell the dummy? He does, trying to put Kyle under pressure, but Kyle thinks better of it. He does get a good run out of this first corner, and here he goes down the straight, as we thought he might. He's going to have the tow. Kyle's going to have the 30 kilos of ballast there, which is going to slow him down the straight. Alexander Link, is he close enough to make the move? It's not looking like it yet, but as he does, he moves to the inside. Is he going to be later on the brakes than Kyle? He is indeed, and he's tucked that up the inside. Kyle sticking around the outside, manages to hold on to the position. It's great racing between the two. But what this has done is allowed Giuliano Giarco to get involved, and he was back down in 15th, 16th place at not only 3 laps ago. So he's done a phenomenal job of bringing it in here. And is he going to send the move up on Alexander Link? He does indeed. Does he make it stick? Oh, it's close. They're going to drag it out.
It certainly is. He's going to have the outside. I think Alexander's just going to hold the inside. But this is Kyle's chance now to hopefully escape away. But what we can't forget is Alexander's got 24 kg. So there's only 6 kg less than Kyle. So that could be, you know, why we're not seeing him have the massive overlap on the straights. But Giuliano's only got 3 kg and Alex Forster behind with 0. So them two are going to have a really, really good advantage over these two if these two keep squabbling. So, you know, I don't want to say it, but Adam Lyle with all this battling, the gap's up to 4.8 seconds. So he's having a good race so far. Not saying anything. But Alexander now on the inside of Kyle Felvis into turn 1. We have seen a few mistakes here, especially if they run out onto the sausage curb on the outside. What's going to happen? Alexander is going to stop at the apex. Kyle's going to get full stack wide with a little bit of wheel banging. And this is going to now allow Giuliano to have the overlap and get to the inside as well.
So potentially 2 positions here lost, and it is 2 positions lost here for Kyle, which he's not going to be too happy about. But he's still in the battle. There's still 2.5 minutes left to go of the race. Is he looking up the inside, and he does a very late move from Kyle and just couldn't get the car stopped and has actually collected himself there. That was a very late dive, and I think Kyle's going to be kicking himself for that one. You know, did he just go too far? As Thomas Potter has managed to get it sideways out of the top corner there and spin it around into the wall. So he was plodding along quite nicely in 7th place, and he's definitely going to have picked up some damage. So it's a tough one for him as Kyle dives up the inside there and manages to take P3. But is he potentially going to come up under the steward's review for the late lunge that was made a couple of corners ago?
Yeah, I mean it's a 3-wide situation, right? It was a late dive bomb. Kyle did straighten him up, and he did wait, and he let Giuliano past. That could be something that comes into the steward's, you know, review of the whole incident. But it must be said it was a late dive, and I think there potentially is a penalty coming that way. You know, even though he did let him pass it still cost them the time to Alexander, as there's retaliation potentially as Kyle was spun round.
I don't know if that was retaliation or potentially just had a little bit more speed through there, but that again, that's going to be another one for the stewards to review, as now Kyle down into P7.
Yeah, certainly, and you know, it probably wasn't retaliation. There's no, you know, harmful drivers in here per se. But Kyle, this is not what he needs for his championship hopes. Josh Martin is into the wall on the exit of turn 1, almost collecting Kyle, and now he's going to be on the back of Bettini. So, you know, he's still going to recover for a few positions with only 1 minute to go. But yeah, it must be said this is not looking good for his championship. He's been so consistent up until this point, but potentially, you know, a little bit of fatigue after some close racing for 20 minutes kicking in. Or you know, just a slight lapse of concentration. You know how it is in these high pressure situations. It's so easy done, so you never know. But even so, it's you know, it's all good racing, and we're all here for the same thing, right?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Thomas Potter went very deep into that top corner at the end of the top of the hill, and ended up losing a couple of positions, but is now fighting back against Nicky Taylor, trying to go around the outside. There's a lot of marbles on the outside of that track. Is he going to be able to make it stick? And he does. Nicky backs out along the inside there. So whether he couldn't see Tom in the mirrors or not, but that's an opportunistic move from him, and a very, very well done to hang that round the outside. Not a lot of drivers that will be able to do that, especially with how understeery these cars are when you're going out wide. But again, I don't want to say it. Adam Lyle, 12 laps in, 5 seconds clear. He's pumping in 132, so they're not the quickest of laps, but realistically he doesn't need it. As you know, coming onto the last lap here, and we're going to go on board with Adam, but has he managed to seal this one and get rid of all the bad luck that he had?
I'm not going to say anything until the check flag, but I really hope he's overcome, you know, the bad luck he's had at the beginning of the season. As the battles are not over yet, the battles are still raging. Thomas Potter there with Nicky Taylor and Tabaroni as well, and Josh Martin. And we also
Carl
see
Felvis here as well, going around the outside, and there's some wheel banging between the two, and Carl's gone round the outside, so a cracking move from him. Again, a lot of these drivers making some really opportunistic moves, but has he got the pace to out-drag Bettini now? He's going to be able to hold on to it. We're going to have to go back on board here with Adams, so we're going to cut back from that, as just as we do, Carl and Bettini taking blows to one another here as they go side by side. Thomas Potter up into P8, and he's dived up around the outside now to the next left-hander. But Adam Lyle, we've got to go on board with him. We've got to give him his credit. 4.5 seconds clear out in front. He must be coasting that to bring it home. His nerves must be racking. He's got 2 corners left to go. He doesn't get it squirrely on the exit. He's pretty much dawdling through the last corner, and Adam Lyle does, and he takes it quite happily. No commentator's curse involved, and manages to take the win in race 2, and that's got to be a confidence booster for him with Alexander Link in P2 and Giaco in P3.
Yeah, 100%. That was a brilliant race from Adam. He just, like we said at the beginning of the race, he had that pole position. The championship contenders were far back, and then a few incidents helped him along the way. And like you said, his ultimate pace wasn't quite there, but you know, he stayed out of trouble. He banged in those consistent laps, and look what it's resulted in. So yeah, it must be said that's sort of what drivers have got to go on.
I don't want to jump in, but what we did just miss there was Carl Felvis potentially coming into contact with Nicky Taylor from what I could see into the last corner and spinning round. That's dropped him down into P11 as he finishes that race, and he's got to be gutted with that one. He was pretty much fighting for P2, and he stopped out on track, so potentially some damage to the car there, and can't continue any longer. But you know, a valuable points loss, and you know, as we're in the 3rd round already of this championship, he might have the points sort of out in the lead to hold that. But yeah, you got a feel for him. It seemed like he was sort of getting battered from post to post in that one, and yeah, it could go down to the stewards.
100%. Well, drivers now bringing it back into the pit lane after a tremendous race 2. So yeah, we look forward to the interviews very soon.
Yeah, as we go to our ad break.
What is going on, guys, and welcome back to Nerd PC Turbo Tech Reviews. Now today is something a little bit different. Normally we do just reviews on a single item, but today we're going to be showing you guys what you can expect from Nerd PC. Nerd PC is a bespoke building company where you can get absolutely any sort of style of gaming PC, office work PC, retail, or even for school work, This PC here demonstrates how small they can be, but yet still pack an absolute powerful punch. So from such a small computer like this, you may be worrying about heat, but these fans inside of here keep it absolutely ice cold as well as quiet. Now listen to this. Nice and quiet. Beautiful. And we build completely different style of computers. Like I said, from this little one up here, it's all down to you. You get to decide on which case you want to use. You get to decide if you want it all flashy and RGB. You get to decide whether you want it completely plain and black. Remember, we did the hard part of figuring out which components work best for you for your value for money, but you get to decide on how it looks. If you're after something that's in your face, some bright and powerful as this. So this build here is in a Gigabyte C102 glass Arctic Ice case with 320mm cooler master fans at the front, 360mm all-in-one cooler at the top. This full white ice build does look insane, and I can assure you, you will not be disappointed. So if you're on the market for a brand new shining gaming computer, or if you want a computer for home use, retail, or office work, it's completely down to you. We just make it happen. So if you haven't done already, go and head over to the website at www.nerdpc.co.uk, have a browse through, see what's on there, or drop us a message directly on Facebook, and we'll do our absolute best to make it happen for you. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it. And if you are new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And if you did enjoy this video, hit the like for me, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.
Hi everyone, and welcome back after another, exhilarating race 2 here at the Rebel Ring for round 3 of the Phoenix Sim Racing F4 World Championship. I'm going to first be joined by Giuliano. Giuliano, how was that race? Obviously reverse grid. You did very well to get yourself up, especially after a few incidents as well. How did you find it from behind the wheel?
Giù ti chiede praticamente come è andata la gara e con anche c'è stato il contatto, giusto?
Sì.
Sì, e cosa pensi del contatto e com'è andata?
Allora, la gara è andata abbastanza bene, cioè ho ottimizzato quello che potevo, il problema che ho al pedale, diciamo.
Aspetta un secondo che glielo traduco.
Ok.
So the race will be great and he make the best he can with the mistake of the pedal and but it's really okay the race. E poi dicevi? Scusa?
Del contatto, quale contatto? Quale dei due?
Ah,
quello a tornantino o quello...
dimmene uno.
Quello a tornantino vogliono sapere,
Okay.
dillo.
Dimmene uno giù.
A tornantino, dico
Ok.
io?
Va.
Che praticamente ero in traiettoria interna, stavo passando il secondo che era Coso, non mi ricordo chi era, mi sembra, il
Sì.
secondo, e mi hanno toccato da dietro, mi hanno fatto sbattere sia contro di lui che ero già secondo, l'avevo già passato.
For the contact, this is the race, but about one of the contact is praticamente was in the line and one driver come to the back and he pushed Giuliano, so he lost a bit the car. But he's happy for the results. The first place it's a nice result.
100%, and it was an amazing result. Final question I wanted to ask was: have you been doing much testing ahead of Spa, or what are your sort of plans going into Spa, and are you looking forward to it?
E qual è il tuo piano per Spa?
È sempre andare a punti, fare più punti possibili per il team e per il campionato.
Okay. We just start to work for Spa, but the most important things is to take most point we can, and for him, absolutely, and for the team.
Brilliant. Well done for this evening, and hope to have many more interviews with you at Spa. But until then, good luck for training, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Grazie.
Okay, so a big well done there to Giuliano Giarco for his race result there. As we now move on to Alexander Link in P2. Alexander, how was that race for you?
I guess off the back of the first race, which is possibly the worst race I've ever done in my life, the second race was pretty good. I had one incident where I'm not sure if it was one of the guys who were either the guy who just got interviewed for third or the other guy they were talking about a similar incident where I ran into the back of someone. I like half lifted, but it wasn't enough. That was really unfortunate. I also had to evade like 3 other things in the second race. Apart from that, it was fine. I had some fights with Kyle. He had insane top speed for some reason. Every time I was close to him, he warped really badly, so it was impossible to attack him. But somehow I managed to do it anyway, and I guess the second race was decent.
Yeah,
I was angry driving the whole time.
I think that we were talking about this throughout both sessions, and just how difficult it looked to keep a rein on a lot of these cars. And I think there was a lot of drivers that, you know, either lost control or went spinning off, or, you know, really struggled with the tyres. So was that something you really had to think about in terms of setup for this track, or was it something you had a solid grasp of?
Not in terms of setup, no. I knew that there were 1 or 2 corners where I could either short shift or watch that my steering is straight enough to go full on the throttle in order to keep my rear left tire in check. I've seen a lot of people spin, but yeah, from the experience I had from a practice run, I knew what was ahead of me and I could manage it pretty well. I didn't have massive issues with the tires.
Sure. And look, what's it looking like going into Spa? Obviously, you've had a great result here in the P2 in this second race. You know, what are your thoughts for the rest of the championship? What are you thinking in terms of Spa? Is it a track that you enjoy, or is it one that you potentially aren't a fan of?
I like Spa.
Okay,
I have no idea what the what's going to be possible for the rest of the championship, because if things keep happening like they happened to me in the first race, I basically have no chance. And also, yeah, I don't think I will ever be able to overtake Kyle on the straight line again.
Well, big congratulations on P2 in this race, and hopefully get to speak to you again at Spa.
Thank you.
And there we have it then. Alexander Link takes P2 here at Red Bull Ring in the second race, as we are now pass back over to Thomas to interview our winner from race 2.
Well, Adam, I finally get to talk to you throughout this whole championship. You've had a lot of bad luck for the first 2 rounds, and in race 1 as well. That was really unfortunate to see the incident, but you really, you know, that was a great composed drive. You sort of had that pole position with the front runners running at the back for the beginning of the race from the reverse grid, and then you never really looked back. Talk us how it was for you.
I think at the start of that, I just knew I had to take it steady. After race 1, I pushed too hard on that opening lap. Burnt the tyres out with that spin. So I just made sure I didn't make the same mistake really in that race.
Yeah, it was a mega drive. And how were the tyres in that race? Because obviously we saw you conserving towards the end. Was that just trying to keep it on the circuit and maintain that first place, or were the sort of tyres and the setup coming to sort of, you know, bite you?
Honestly, I think I'd have had more traction driving on the rims with no tyres than last 2-3 laps. They was dead, completely gone. So it might have looked like I was lifting, but no, definitely not.
Yeah, and the final one that I wanted to ask is like all the other drivers we've asked, how are you finding Spa? If you've done any testing, and are you looking forward to it? Obviously coming off of a really positive round here, are you sort of carrying that same momentum there in both your mental prep and also your sort of training as well?
Yeah, I can't wait. Absolutely love Spa as a track. I'm probably going to bin it in one of the races anyway, as I've got to keep up the trend on that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully I get a bit more practice this week. I've not had much these last couple of weeks, so I'm going to try and get a few more laps in for this one.
Brilliant. Well, I hope we'll get you back in the interview room for Spa as well. But until then, good luck with your training. And have a mega week.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
And there we have it then. Adam Lyle taking P1 in the second race at Red Bull Ring, and a big well done to him, avoiding the commentator's curse and finally banking himself some much needed championship points, and hopefully just giving him that little bump of confidence leading up to Spa. Now, I do have one apology to make to one particular driver, and that is Thomas Potter, because in the excitement of the last round at Interlagos, we completely forgot to name the driver of the day, and that was Thomas Potter. So a big apology to Thomas Potter for that one, but he was driver of the day for Interlagos, and I can confirm that driver of the day for here at Red Bull Ring has got to be Giuliano, for an incredible drive and a great pullback from what was pretty much 18th in the second race. So a big well done to him. That concludes our night's worth of racing. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you to everyone that streamed it and jumped in on the YouTube chat and posted comments and well wishes to those that were driving. It is massively appreciated. Please do share our streams. We want to see as many people as we can watching every night, every Wednesday night, and the racing that's available, because the drivers really deserve it. And then just lastly, just as a quick one for Johnny Ogden, again, if you haven't seen his commentary, please check the link in the description below and go give that a watch, because it's absolutely fantastic. My name's Joel, and Thomas Merritt and me, thank you ever so much for joining us this evening, and we will see you next week at Spa. Cheers. See you then.